Hi, I'm Moe Miller, and I'm a criminal justice professor in the Division of Politics, Administration, and Justice. The first thing I want to say is that this is just a quick video about my background and my research and my area of expertise. Now, here's what I'm going to say. There's only really two things that I'm really good at being, and that's Black and a woman. So if you have any thing you need to know about Black women, I'm your girl, right? That's really the only thing I'm really a good, like an expert. Like I can get on the witness stand and testify. I have receipts. But for the professional side of me, I consider myself a pracademic. Well, pracademic is a term that's being thrown around. We use it lovingly and affectionately in the Criminal Justice Academy to acknowledge that there are still people who work in the field of criminal justice and also teach at university or community college level criminal justice classes. And that would be me, right? I have 25 years in the field of criminal justice by way of corrections and probation in particular. I was a juvenile hall corrections counselor and a school safety officer. So that part of me is still alive and well. I currently work in juvenile hall on a first offender. I have to get this right because they are first time offenders, but they're sex offenders. And I go in and sometimes I program for the whole group, but for the most part, I sit with one juvenile ward who I am helping with rehabilitating from his sex crime, which is a very interesting dynamic for us. I'm a sexual assault survivor openly. It's not a secret in the criminal justice field. I mean, academy, like people who do research with me and write with me know that I'm a sexual assault survivor. So it's a very interesting dynamic to work with him through restorative justice. I just wish we had access to his victim and we can do some real restorative justice, but rehabilitating and giving him the tools he needs to reintegrate back into society. And what I'm hoping for is he could stay in juvenile hall and not be waived up as an adult. On the other flip side, like I said, I am a criminal justice professor. I teach various courses at Cal State Fullerton. I teach Intro to Crime, Law, and Justice. I teach Foundations of Criminal Justice. Juvenile Justice, of course, that's my area. Corrections. Theories of Crime and Delinquency, where I take a little bit of twist in class. Even though I teach you criminal theory, I also teach you about criminal behavior. So we look at real cases, real crime scenes, and we talk about motive, why people do what they do, and how does that relate to theory, routine activities theory, life course theory, things like that. And last but not least, minorities in the criminal justice system. What I specialize in is looking at the criminalization of youth and how African American boys and girls are more likely to be introduced to the criminal justice system through school, right? So there is not a new concept. It's been around, but now it has a name. It's called School to Prison Pipeline. Like the first day of lecture in juvenile hall, in juvenile justice, I always say, remember that little knucklehead that was in high school with you, but he also went to junior high with you, and he also went to elementary school with you, and he was Billy Badass until 12th grade? That guy, right? That's the guy who never, ever goes to the criminal justice system, because that's the guy who's probably 9 times out of 10 white and gets away with it till 12th grade. But the other side of that is the Black or brown Billy Badass who gets stopped maybe by 5th grade, and they get their first suspension, right? And they get that first taste of what a school resource officer can say or do, and then there it is. They're introduced to that system, and therefore now they're labeled as bad, and now they can do no good, and the teachers treat them differently, and parent volunteers treat them differently, and we all know that kid. That's that bad kid. So that's what I specialize in, is the systemic racism in educational spaces. And it was a very interesting talk I had recently with a friend. We were talking about if we could just tear down education systems K through 12, particularly K through second grade, actually, or preschool through second grade, and rearrange that, we could pretty much give kids a fighting chance to not be introduced to the criminal justice system. Well, that's where my specialty, my expertise lies. On the back end of that, of course, minorities in the criminal justice system will bring up a lot of what's going on today with Black Lives Matter. Is this white privilege real? Is systemic racism real? And is white supremacy real? And does it actually affect our institutions? And the answer to that is hell yeah. And is it going to stop soon? I think so. I think the movement is a little bit different now than when I was a young girl. Yes, I marched. I'm Gen X. We, Rodney King, right? That was the not guilty verdict, the riots. And the interesting thing about all of this is looking at it from a perspective of a Gen Xer, right? The generation that I am. And when we look at the timeline of things, and hopefully now we're getting to the fact that, dude, blacks have only been able to vote for like 50 years and the 400-year head start for our white counterparts. So that's a very big interest of mine. And I'm very active in the community with Black Lives Matter. I'm very active in the community when it comes to youth and at-risk youth. The interesting thing is the Black Lives Matter movement just have been able to acknowledge the women who've also been killed by the police. But I have access to a database that shows how many juveniles, Black youth who under the age of 18 who've also been killed by the police. And one, I think the last one, that was added to the database was 6 months old, I think it was. And I can't remember the incident right now, but it's stories like that don't make the news. So to wrap it up, because I'm running out of time, again, I'm Moe Miller. I'm in the Department of Criminal Justice. You can look me up. I am open and willing to talk and do discussions and bring more information. Because on the back end, I didn't say that I'm being very active at the university. I'm also an anti-racism and social justice facilitator for our faculty union here at the on campus. And what that means is I go to other CSUs and hold a workshop to teach them about how to, about being anti-racism and how to have a social justice lens. So I'm pretty, I'm dope now that I think about it. Just teasing. But, if you need me, just reach on over there. I'm in the Criminal Justice Department and I'm here. Thank you. And we'll make it. We'll get through this. Know that.